Hey everybody, welcome to What's Up Watchtower. Zoe's joining us right now until she's sick of us and then she'll leave.
It'll happen in about a minute, I bet.
Right. So thanks for joining us. We want to welcome all of our new subscribers. Thank you for joining us. And if you haven't subscribed, then why not? Why not like and subscribe? What does it hurt? So today we wanted to continue a series that we started when we started making videos, growing up Jehovah's Witness. What it was like to grow up as a Jehovah's Witness. And the topic today is all about dress and grooming.
Heard about that a lot.
Yeah, we both had our experiences with elders and being counseled about our dress and grooming from time to time, and thought we might share some of those stories because we're sure we know that a lot of you have had similar experiences. So just thought it might be fun to reminisce. Mm-hmm. So let's start with you, Mike.
Oh.
You sort of you were the whipping boy in your congregation.
Well, I guess it probably started about the time I got a car, 16 years old, driving or something. And that, you're right. I felt like the whipping boy. I was literally counseled on just about everything you could counsel somebody on. My hair is too short. Sideburns too long. Dressing worldly. Not the right shoes. The color of the clothes I'm wearing is too bright or inappropriate or whatever. I mean, it was just like, no matter what you did to try and to be yourself a little bit, if it was anything outside of the envelope that they consider acceptable, you're going to get counseled for it.
Yeah, and take me back to the suit situation. Now, your mother was, very conservative.
Yes.
And she would not have let you purchase a suit that she did not feel was appropriate.
No, and at that age, too, it wasn't uncommon. I'm 16 years old. It wasn't uncommon for my mom and dad to buy me a suit for the upcoming assembly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not like I was going out and picking out super crazy clothes or something and trying to wear it to the meeting. These were parent-approved suits, and my dad's an elder. My mom is a regular pioneer. So that was my life growing up. So it wasn't that there was anything wrong with them. I just felt like I was being singled out and maybe picked on for some reason.
What was this suit like? This infamous suit?
It was an olive drab color, like green. It was green.
Yeah.
But a darker green.
Sort of like the color you're wearing?
Yeah, kind of like this, a little bit. This is, whatever. Yeah. But it was kind of like that, and at the time...
That was popular at that time, back in the late 80s?
Right, it was the color, because with that, I think I had some kind of like a rose-colored shirt, and then a tie that had like the complementing colors, like the rose color and the green and black, and it was like, matchy kind of, But it was the cut of the pants... It was the cut of the jacket. They were too baggy, and that's the thing is, at the time period that this is, for any of you guys who are like my age, I'm 43, so you're kind of close to that age, you'll remember that 25 years ago, the pants that were really popular, especially down here in Florida where we were, like Zeke Havarichis and stuff, they were like tapered pants. The legs were like tapered. So they were skinnier at the ankle, but they were not baggy, but they were roomy in the legs and stuff, sometimes with pleats and stuff. So, but that was basically it. I mean, it was an in-style suit at the time, not now, it would look horrible. But at the time it was considered in style. It wasn't overly crazy, but no, it seemed like you could wear it to a meeting one time and it would be fine. You wear it another time and you get a complaint. It was no consistency to what was going on.
And you would think that they would just be happy that you were there, young brother, that you were willing to help in sound, do the mics, be in the parking lot, to do parking lot duty. You would think that they would just be happy that he was there with a good attitude.
Well, that's the funny thing. Despite being talked to so many times, I was never, no privileges were ever taken away. It was not like there was, it's almost like I was being talked to, but it was for an invisible problem because nothing ever happened. I was never counseled by a body of elders or a group. It was always one brother who would come up and say something to me, you know.
And then
so
you mentioned about your hair, like you sort of shaved your hair.
yeah, when I was like 18, I had my head shaved. You know, I mean, not like to the skin, but it was short, really short.
Yeah.
And apparently people said I looked like a skinhead, you know, and it didn't help that like I just hung around with all punks and stuff all the time. But the thing is, at the congregation we were going to, wasn't as racially mixed as some other congregations we've been to. So when you go to a congregation, and the one I'm thinking of is the congregation where your family went, that there was some brothers in that hall. They were black brothers, very short cropped hair, but that is a super common style. Mm-hmm. So I said to myself, well, if this brother can basically have the same haircut as me, what's the problem? He's an elder. He's up on stage. He's doing these things. And there was another brother at that hall that had the most massive pork chop sideburns. And nobody would dare say a thing to this guy. Mm-hmm. So it was like, if you were a certain person, you could get away with it. But if they felt like they could push you around a little bit and not have any recourse, they did it, you know?
Yeah, and you sort of wondered if they were doing this for any other agenda, that maybe they had, because his dad was the presiding overseer, so maybe they had another agenda, that it was a roundabout way. Maybe it was sort of a passive-aggressive way of getting at your dad a little bit.
I guess that's very possible as well. I mean, I was aware of disagreements between the body of elders at the time in the congregation. I knew that there was basically two parties in the body of elders, that there's one group and there's another group, and they were not 100% united like you would maybe expect. I don't have any additional information other than that, things I overheard, conversations I overheard my parents talking about and stuff. So I know that there were some issues, but I don't have specifics. But yeah, that could certainly be it.
Yeah. Well, I have a couple of experiences too. They weren't as, I don't think, traumatic as yours were. You just always felt like they were all over you all the time. But my first one, actually it wasn't me that got counseled. Well, I did get counseled, but it wasn't for the way that I was dressed. I was giving a talk, and my householder, who was my girlfriend, she wore a skirt that was just a little bit too short. But, you know, she really, everybody was just happy that she was coming back to the meetings, because she had run away from home and had been on drugs and, you know, had lived away from home for about a year, and then came back, and she was, you know, trying to get her life together and whatever. So everybody was just happy that she was coming back to the meetings and whatever. So I wasn't going to say anything about her skirt, and plus I was so used to her dressing this way that it really didn't even faze me. Mm-hmm. And I was probably about 18 years old at the time, and after the meeting, the brother who was the school overseer came up to me, and he said, you should not have let her go up on stage like that. And I said, like what? And he said, her skirt was so short. And I was like, well, that's, you know, she tends to dress that way, but, you know, her mom let her leave the house like that and didn't think anything of it. So who am I? I'm not her mom. And he says, well, you are responsible for how your householder dresses. And this was another instance where I turned around and rolled my eyes.
How old were you when that happened?
18.
18.
Yeah, I was still a kid. How was I going to counsel my girlfriend for wearing a skirt that was just a little bit too short? Yeah, and then the other thing happened after we were married. Actually, there's two other things that happened after we were married. So well, as we've mentioned before, we live in South Florida. So it's not uncommon to wear sundresses down here. I know in maybe other climates that's not as common, and you know, depending on where you live, there's custom, you know, whatever's acceptable for where you live. And so girls down here, you know, are always wearing sundresses. And the one that I happened to be wearing had spaghetti straps. This is this is the spaghetti strap Watergate, I guess you could say. Spaghetti strap gate. And the presiding overseer of our congregation had an issue with it. So, and he, you know, he was great, a great brother. I love him to death, but old school. And so he went to my father. Now, mind you, we were already married.
Mm-hmm.
He went to my father and mentioned it to my father. So then my dad came to me and was like, you know, that's inappropriate. You shouldn't be wearing a dress like that. And I said, well, I have other dresses that have, you know, that are also sundresses but have 2-inch wide straps. What's the difference of that amount of skin? Where's the barrier,
Yeah.
really? And
it's not like they were short or anything either. They were longer dresses. They were just full dress. But
and they weren't low cut or anything.
No.
Yeah. So so then, you know, my dad said, well, you're right. I shouldn't be talking to you. I should be talking to your husband. Well, then I said, well, Mike loves the way I dress, so you're welcome to talk to him about it, but I'm sure he's going to back me up and say that he didn't find anything wrong with it. So I sort of never heard anything again about that. But something else that happened, and this wasn't an elder, but this was an older sister. And yes, so I'm going to do a little reenactment of what she did. I was wearing a top. Now I've always had sort of ample, you know, upper body stuff going on. And even tops that aren't that low cut, you know, I have stuff. I can't, you know, hide it unless I'm wearing, you know, tops up to here. Exactly. So I had on a little sweater that it wasn't low cut at all. But she went like this. She's like, your top is too low. And she actually pulled it down. And I mean, my eyes went so wide. I had to really resist smacking her across the face. I mean, I've never been that angry at someone inside the Kingdom Hall. And I just looked at her and I backed away and I said, don't ever touch me again. And she was like, well, that top is too low. And I was like, no, it's not, and it's none of your business. And that was it.
Yeah, you just reminded me too. Well, first of all, the sister who tried to counsel you, her husband was guilty of offending so many people at the hall.
Mm-hmm.
Because despite maybe being a very caring brother or whatever, he had no tact and came across like a freight train.
Mm-hmm.
So he had a tendency to rub people the wrong way.
Everybody.
Yeah, and it was known. It was like, oh, you know, well, just don't worry about him. You know, like everybody just kind of deals with him. So that was interesting because it had to be her, right? It
was her. Yeah. And one time, in fact, he used to be on parking lot duty, and he got taken off after he was yelling at us to move our car, because apparently we stopped in the wrong place or whatever, or were parked in the wrong spot, and he was yelling at us to move our car.
And that was funny because at that point,
move your car, move your car, move your car.
At that point, I was just about done, and we parked the car. I locked it, got out, started walking to the meetings, locked the car, and just kept on walking as he was screaming at us. And that's what caused it. The guy almost had a coronary in the parking lot screaming at us. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, when that incident with her happened, actually that was when I was starting to wake up, so I was already very sensitive. And I was just like, this was a lovely, beautiful sweater. There was nothing wrong with it whatsoever.
She had to take her crinkly old witch finger and poke you with
right between my boobs and pull it down. And I mean, I'm like, well, yes, that was immodest, what you just did. Not my actual sweater. So, anyways, it's just interesting, you know. We know people are imperfect.
But it just reminds me too, you talking about this reminded me, when I was young, I had friends at a lot of different halls, as I'm sure a lot of people do. And I found out only later, in later years, that there was all kinds of rumors going on about me using drugs and stuff. This is from the congregation in Lake Worth that we didn't go to. I had a lot of friends there. There was a lot of stories going around. And then one of my other friends that lives here, close, that I used to skateboard with a lot, his parents were on my case. They went to your old congregation about how I'm bad association, about how I dress crazy and all this stuff. And so there was just, it actually, if you really sit down and break down the time periods, it does seem pretty constant.
And it's, you know, it's so interesting too, because out of all of the kids, out of all the boys your age, you were actually doing the least amount of, I mean, you weren't doing anything wrong at that time. And you at that time.
No, nothing.
Straight and narrow, man. I mean, he in fact, we mentioned in another video, if he told his friends, if you're doing something wrong, don't tell me, because, you know, I don't want to have to be responsible for knowing the stuff that you're doing.
I actually told my one friend, don't tell me because I'm going to have to tell the elders on you. So, like, I actually alienated probably some people because of the way how hardcore I was back then. So, no, I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was a good kid, according to Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah. But, you know, and all these things that happen, they did not stumble us. We just laugh about them now. We find them interesting. But it makes it harder to be a young person growing up when there's constant counsel and they're constantly, you know, either implying or outright saying that you're leading a double life. And, you know, with all the pressure of just being a teenager, first of all, being a young person, but then being in a high control, you know, cult. So, you know, like we said, we weren't stumbled by this. You know, we forgave the people that said these things. But, you know, just thought we would talk about it because we know that a lot of you can relate to what we went through.
Yeah, and it's a real stark difference between, and it's so unfortunate, between the way you can be treated as a young person at the Kingdom Hall and what the Bible says and what they themselves preach as to how you should be treating other people. There's no taking into consideration a person's circumstances. I mean, in our case, when it came to anything like this, you know, it's just, this is the rule, it's a hard and fast rule, why didn't you follow it? Or they were being more pharisaical and imposing rules that were based more on their personal opinions than anything that was written by the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. And I think that was the situation in my case. There was one particular brother in my early hall when I was younger, and it was his opinion. And then, so he talked. None of the other elders ever said a word. It was him that talked to me. So I think that plays into it a lot too, and it's unfortunate because people's personal opinions vary so greatly, and you just don't have the right to impose your opinion on other people.
True. And this is a great segue to an article that is going up. It'll probably be up by the time that this video comes out. And so we've already gotten one contributor. This will be the second contributing article. And so it's in the article section on our website.
Yep.
And it was all about just a little teaser. His nephew, who was being hounded by the brothers for facial hair, and basically made it a judicial matter. So, just a teaser. So go to the website and read that article. And of course, if you want to contribute your own article, you can contact us through our website. And we look forward to hearing from more of you. We've been hearing from so many already, and it's very exciting. It makes us very happy. And
just to clarify, there's a couple of writers. You don't have, if you wanted to submit something, you don't have to write under your real name. The article that's most recently been submitted, the author goes by the name The Extreme. And the reason why is in the description of the article. It's just, you can be yourself, and you don't have to put your face on it if you're not ready to do anything like that. But if you want to be involved, hey, we are a platform that can maybe let you get involved. So.
Right, exactly. So, anything else?
Feels good not to have anybody tell me what to look like anymore or how to dress, because I got no patience for that anymore.
Yeah, no. So, all right, guys. Thanks.
By the way, does Crocs make dress shoes? Just a question.
Okay, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.